This is really big, and it's all about Cohen. Now, understand that Donald Trump, like many people, made the mistake that the attorney-client privilege is sanctimount. And here's a newsflash. It sure as shit is not. Now, I would have known that either until people I know got nailed on that thing, okay? And if you trust your lawyer, it's kind of like, years ago someone told me that, you need a good lawyer, you need a good wife, you need a good psychiatrist, you need a good banker, you need a good broker, the things that make life complete. And so a trusted lawyer knows a lot. And because of attorney-client privilege, he can't snitch you out even if he wanted to, okay? Unless it's a crime. And even then, he's got difficulty about a crime anticipated or a crime occurred. There's a complicated. But because of the very aggressive stance the justice took on the war on drugs, including illegal extraditions, prosecuting attorneys, freezing accounts without proof, a lot of freedoms that Trump enjoyed in his generation are now gone. They can seize your money because they want to. They can turn your lawyer, as Donald Trump's learning, on you. And Donald Trump is livid because there is a lot of shit that he doesn't want to come out. As you can imagine, if you've been a business person and kind of high caliber player, you know what I'm talking about, okay? You know the shit that you got to pull to stay in business. You know how you got to bend the rules, bend them, break them, shape them any way you want to. Well, Donald Trump's, more than anyone else has done all that. Now, he doesn't know what his lawyers got in the files, okay? They're going to have dinner together, and obviously the purpose of that dinner is to discuss exactly what was in the files they got, because, listen to me carefully, they were not expecting this. In other words, he did not expect that his files would be raided. He thought he could, troll him, trolling him, and he could, play him along and, the long stall and the techniques that he's used successfully in New York. But the problem, and by the way, they thought they had it solved. See, part of the problem that Donald Trump's always worried about was what could come at him from the district court in Manhattan, where Donald Trump's sins lie. Remember, the jurisdiction of the Trump empire is in that district of Manhattan. His lawyer's there, his lawyer's paperwork's there, his filings are there. A lot of cases have a tie to that. And jurisdiction is very important in this kind of litigation. And so Donald Trump thought that the litigation was going on with Mueller was basically involving his presidency office. They started getting concerned as they were investigating property records, that kind of stuff in New York. But I can tell you that friends in the properties offices cooperated, and they were going through that and trolling, and they weren't as forthcoming as you might think they would be in property records and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of stuff went through leases and all kinds of tricks. Now the shocker is the absolute holy cow. What in the hell are we going to do? Is this whole thing about the attorney? This is a big shit. This is at the level of game changer. This is the level of hair on fire, that kind of thing. This is big shit. Now, you need to understand that Donald Trump's got a great big hairy-ass problem. And that is that he's got to make this go away. The files that were attained just were not about Stormy Dormy, but they were about Playboy bunny rabbits. And I understand there's maybe as many as 3-4 ladies of various reputations, shall we say, in various involvement with Donald Trump that were paid, intimidated, and the combination of both. Now, the problem is that he has got the goods on Donald Trump, okay? There's now campaign contributions to charities, not to necessarily campaign. There is the Cambridge Analytica, which ties into the Russians. Look, they had a Russian agent on the payroll, and believe me, they know he's an agent. And we know that the agent carried Cambridge Analytical documents to the Russians and made connections to troll for him. That's pretty much settled business. Now, it's kind of hard to get yourself, well, I didn't know about that. Well, you paid him $6 million, plus your other donors gave him another 10. They were funded by $16 million. I mean, and Bannon was your chief guy, and as you so said, was there. And they were bragging about the fact that they had the analyticals at one time, okay? It was actually used in advertising, which I got from Cambridge Analytical, as I've told you the story before. But now you couple that with Flynn's, should we say, former friends in the KGB and involved in all that stink that went on over there, hiring Donald Trump to give him a little TV presentation, for big money and money flowing in there. And now all this ties together. In other words, follow the money. Well, the money goes from Russians to Trump, from Russians to the Cambridge Analytical, from Russians meeting at the White House, from Russian agents, Flynn Associates, making donations, okay? It's all there. It is all there. And now you got the attorney, which is the heart of the layers. In other words, this is the attorney that handled the funding of the early funding of the election. This is the attorney that handled the connection with Cambridge Analytical. This is the attorney that handled the Trump charity, which was used, and the Trump Juniors charity, which was used. And a lot of money filtered through there that were not campaign contributions, but donations to the charity. Now, it is getting pretty ugly. And now let me explain what's going on. Donald Trump was due to fly to a long anticipated trip, if you might recall, to Latin America. And on that trip, Donald Trump was supposed to negotiate some NAFTA pre-agreements, remember? This was an extremely important trip to the trade deal. And Donald Trump has canceled it, okay? Now, why did the Don cancel the trip? Well, because he is in crisis in Washington, and he's got to do something. Now, listen, I know this guy. Donald Trump has got to do something. He's got to do something drastic. He's got to do something now, and he's a desperate man. Now, let me tell you what I think is going to go on here. That's why you guys keep me around. The word I got is that he absolutely is livid about this thing. They tell me he's more out of control than ever before, okay? And as far as you're concerned, the battle lines have been drawn for already a constitutional crisis. So now it is the night of the long swords. It is the payback at even time. And what I've got a sniff of is that Donald Trump's getting ready to fire them all. I mean, he's going to fire the entire Clinton caboodle, go right down the line. Mueller, Rosengard, the whole crowd. Okay, Sessions done. And I am told that they're looking about doing this, like for the weekend. Okay. Now pay attention here because this is a big deal. Okay, he absolutely has to weigh what presidential crisis he's got. Now, if he's an innocent man, there's no presidential crisis. He's got an investigation, it'll blow over. But he's not an innocent man, okay? Look, behind every great fortune is a great crime, and Donald Trump has a whole crime spree. That's pretty much common knowledge. Now, basically, you get a kind of a pass when you become the president, or you can get away with this shit, okay? But Donald Trump just pushed things to the max, and he is now blaming the crisis in Syria. And you remember I told you Donald Trump will engineer the crises to handle his blocking news and headlines. So basically what's happened is he's saying that it's the Syrian gas crisis that's canceled the trip. It's not that at all. The word I have is that it's a situation that Donald Trump may be using this time lag and maybe some action in Syria to go ahead and clean out all the special prosecutor, the Attorney General, Sessions himself, the Assistant Attorney General, and everyone involved in this crisis, okay? And I understand that they want to go ahead and clean house, okay? And this is raising the specter of some big to-do going on here, okay? And my sources are telling me that right now they're trying to stop Donald Trump from getting on and doing this, what we call the Junebug Eddie number, okay? And I think that he is going to go ahead and do this. Now, Republicans have been urging him not to do it. The Democrats have been trying to get legislation passed to insulate him so that he can't fire him. That is not done yet. Okay, so this is a situation where we've got a big shitting deal about to happen here. Donald Trump absolutely, positively, and I think you know it, is under siege. Now, let's forget about the comedy show with Deep State Conspiracy and the swamp and all that, thoughts that were planted in your heads by the Russian troll farm, okay? Because we got Schumer here, who is working behind the scenes intensely, and go ahead and try to get legislation passed to stop this from happening. So let me explain how that works. There's a timeline on that. Okay, if they get that legislation in, then what happens is, if they bring that legislation to the floor and they get it passed, then he loses that last tool he has. Now, it's been settled business, by the way. They have canceled, I'm told by good authority, that Donald Trump was going to talk to the prosecutor because, remember, Mueller was demanding to be able to depose Donald Trump, which is his right in this kind of situation, okay? And that now is not going to be done. And the situation is that I am told emphatically that Donald Trump is a hot skip and a jump in the little blonde Stormy here from Stormy is fine here. Fine Stormy here from doing this. So it's very close to the fact that he's about to do this. And that means that we could well wake up Monday morning with one hell of a presidential crisis. And by the way, they just canceled the trip, by the way, today, just so you understand that. And that's why they were going to blow this whole Syrian thing out of proportion, okay? Donald Trump can launch an attack from anywhere. He doesn't need to be at the command center for this to happen, just so you understand that. But he needs an excuse. Now, remember, I warned you for a long time that Donald Trump, when he got to this moment, would do anything to get the heat off of him. So you damn right you need to be concerned. Now, the stock market had a little 428 up day, so Monday's drop in reversal is kind of like we're now neutral in the market. The Russian sanctions are in place. He was hoping that would, kind of take the heat off. That didn't work. Now what's happened is, you see, in his schedule, he never expected that they would go so far. Now, I want you to clearly understand this. One of the things he was assured of, and I can tell you that it was a shock to people close to him, that they would not go so far as to breach attorney-client privilege of a president. I mean, we're talking about a sitting president, and he is his personal attorney of record for many years, and take down the protection. So that means this. I understand that there was a lot of information, should we say, that they did not want the prosecutor to get his hands on. I'm also told that Mueller and his team were very frustrated at the lack of information they were getting, and what was in essence information that he used the attorney-client privilege shield. Okay, so they were able. And by the way, please listen to me. It is extraordinary that they were able to get a Republican, state's attorney, okay, from New York, and a Republican judge, one, to get the state's attorney to take on this case, and then to get a judge to sign off on the subpoena, okay, and then the raid. I mean, this is like revolutionary kind of stuff. This is a big deal. And there's several legislations now that are trying to get passed. Okay, Schumer's leading it to bring legislation to the floor that would protect Schumer. Now, let me tell you the other side of this thing. I can tell you that Republicans I've talked to are shitting all over themselves. I mean, they got themselves a great big problem. They really understand that this could become an election year issue. They really understand the danger of all this. And they really do not understand how to handle it, okay? you still have a situation where something happens and just kind of staggers the consciousness and people are stunned. Well, that's where you're sitting at in the White House. These people are sitting here absolutely, unequivocally in a state of shock. This is, and I want to be clear here. Listen to me carefully. This is the last thing they expected. Okay? Now, that means that they all never believed that it would go this far, that they could possibly nail him like this. Okay? I am told that there's devastating and danger to the president material because Stormy wasn't the only woman. So you got the Stormy problem. And I am told on top of that, you've got a situation where they've got the goods on him. In other words, there was collusion. There was money transferred from, listen to me carefully, there was money that made it into the Trump charities and campaign. Remember Trump said, I'm going to raise my own money and all that? Well, at that time, I knew that Donald Trump did not have the cash flow to fund the campaign like he said he would. And basically, we now know where the money came from. Now, there's been assurances all along, by the way, that Donald Trump would not go ahead and pull the investigation, okay? The Republicans warned him that it would be a Democratic party that would be dancing on his head. He was warned that this would lead to impeachment. And Donald Trump says that it's going to lead to impeachment anyway, you see. From Donald Trump's standpoint, there's damage assessment, and it depends upon what his meeting with his longtime and close and private attorney that's scheduled for this weekend will reveal. The fact is, he's canceled the South American trip. That's a big shit. And that was, by the way, supposed to be pre-trade negotiations and all kinds of important things there. And that's not going to happen. And it is not Syria. Now, remember, I told you a long time ago that Donald Trump would absolutely move things any way he had to get the heat off of him. So he's moved it in the direction of now blaming Syria. So that means that he may do something crazy there. You understand? In other words, there's a lot of fear to go around here. And it's a situation where, this witch hunt that Donald Trump believes is going on here is what he needs to give him the excuse to go ahead and just stop this investigation by firing everyone, okay? And it's a situation where this witch hunt, as he calls it, is as close as he's ever going to get for cause. In other words, this was a calculation, okay? Mueller, let me explain. To go after a sitting president and go ahead and allow this to go to the attorney-client privilege of a sitting president is a big shit. This is a big deal, okay? Now, the problem is that there is so much important and critical information that's prosecutable that this could bring him the absolute wipeout of his entire presidency. So here's what he's weighing. It's a situation where the information's out there, the prosecutor's got the goods on him, and they can bring him down. Okay? Now, he knows that better than anyone else, so he has to weigh exactly what was in the massive files that were taken. They took, by the way, they carted off everything. Talking cell phone, iPad, computers, boxes of data, files, internet access. They got, the emails were parked and all that stuff. So they got it all. So now he has to weigh how bad is this information they've got and how long before this blows up the presidency. So now he's got to go ahead and figure out how to stop it, okay? And his only choice is basically to fire Mueller, okay? And if he does that, the repercussions are going to be serious, as we all know. But if he's going to lose anyway on the impeachment, he's going to lose what's in those files, then this might be the smartest way for him to end this thing. And that is what is going on here, okay? And that is the big question. So where are we headed? We're headed for a presidential crisis. Okay, then you need to understand that is settled business. He has completely canceled his trips. He's huddling with his top advisors this weekend, and now they've got to decide what I call the sleaze factor. My belief is that the conclusion he's already come to, and despite everyone trying to stop him, because obviously he's not going to tell his underlings how dirty he is that he's got no choice. He has got to end this investigation. There's too much information that will end his presidency there, and he knows it. And the other thing is that there's a lot of the hush money files in there of the other Stormy, we call them the Trump sisters, okay? So how does he walk away from this thing? The answer is he doesn't. He's got no choice. He's going to have to go ahead and end this investigation, and he's going to have to pretend like he's the innocent victim of what he calls a witch hunt, and he's going to have to go ahead and end this thing, let the cards fall where they may, because he's better off standing the heat. Listen to me carefully. He's better off standing the heat of he shouldn't have fired the prosecutor than what the prosecutor knows. Now, once you get your head wrapped around that, understand that he's done. The President of the United States is done. He's toast. Put a fork in him. And so he's got nothing to lose, okay? He has nowhere to go. So that means that we are now going to enter, I believe, next week into a major constitutional crisis. Republicans are telling him that they're not going to support him in this thing. And he understands that, but he understands that they're not going to support him in the impeachment anyway. So now, the President of the United States is about to go where he shouldn't go. He's going to fire his prosecutors. The prosecutor's getting close to what we would term pay dirt. And this means that the midterm elections, as I've been telling you all along, will not be won. And that means that he's got nothing to lose. If he loses the midterms, the gig is up anyway. And Donald Trump's the kind of guy that believes he can probably bullshit his way out of this thing by going ahead and ending the prosecutor. Remember, he was very close to this many, many times. And that's what his instincts told him. And now he's saying, listen, shit, I'm canceling this guy now, but if I'd done it earlier, he wouldn't have my lawyer's paperwork, and that stuff is there, and he wouldn't be, moving ahead on this thing. So Donald Trump is now, like I told you before, he's a wounded lion. I mean, he's a very powerful man. He is very wounded, and he's now at the point where he has nothing to lose. Are you hearing me? Donald Trump has nothing to lose by firing the prosecutor. And he has nothing to lose by going down this road because they got the goods on him. Now, he can't say that. So he is now, by the way, they've been counseling with Dershowitz, who's already been trying to apply the narrative of, the attorney-client privilege is dead and this is a disgrace and all that, okay? They know that's not true. They're pretending like, well, this has never happened before, it's an unusual situation. This is very standard operating procedures in a prosecution. And now, obviously, we normally don't expect the President of the United States to get tangled in this kind of thing, but, I mean, let's face facts. He uses personal attorney to basically silence and pay off people. Anyway it goes, it was a payoff. Anyway it goes, it was a situation that is now questioning the very survival of the campaign, the very survival of Donald Trump. Remember, Mueller has more data on that. See, what swung it was, this was not about Stormy, by the way. I want to try to correct the narrative on that. The situation was they had the goods on him well before Stormy got into the picture. They were on the trail of Donald Trump's, remember, the old thing, follow the money. So they were on the trail of this money that went on there, and that's when they've got these donations from the Russian oligarchs. In other words, not only did the Russians provide him with the personnel, with the analytical work that they did But now they've got these campaign contributions, okay? And all of a sudden, Donald Trump understands that this is going to be very damaging to his case. So how do you silence it? Well, the idea is this, and I'm telling you, the research is being done right now. They're trying to figure out that if they fire the prosecutor, does that mean that the donations from the Russian oligarchs can get suppressed? Does that mean the payoffs to Donald Trump's bimbo squad can get laid to rest? And exactly what happens to the state of the case, okay? What he's looking for is assurances that he can stop the case and end it there and stay in a black and white boxes on a shelf somewhere. But the problem is that he got this attorney. Because listen to me carefully. And here's the angle in it that the media is not reporting to you. Let's suppose he ends the Mueller probe, okay? He fires Sessions, fires the Assistant Attorney General, fires Mueller, ends the investigation, which is well in his power. His problem is the investigation still goes on in New York. So the problem is that the Southern District of New York is... let me explain something. Southern District of New York is where the billionaires get tried. The Southern District of New York, takes into Wall Street and all that, and that district has very aggressive prosecutors who are very capable on financial crimes. It's not like in Iowa where it's a dispute with the corn elevator or something. I mean, this is where they play the big boys game. And with the lawyer nailed in this thing and the case going forward there, now the strategy is how do you end that one? How do you stop the prosecution from going forward on Cohen? Now, let me explain to you why. That prosecution now goes and touches upon not just Donald Trump. Remember, Trump Jr. had his charitable fund, and that laundered a lot of money into the campaign. You've got the collusion that went on with Trump Jr. and with Kushner. Now, notice how they've kept those people away. I mean, when's the last time you saw Kushner? I mean, when's the last time you saw Trump Jr.? Okay, they're almost kind of hiding them. And now you've got donations from Russian oligarchs tied to Donald Trump that went to a charity, and listen to me carefully. Cohen's the one that handled the charities. So now you've got, where did that dispersal go? Okay? And I'm told the money made it into the Trump campaign. And so, although it got washed, okay, remember it's about laundering, foreigners can't put money in campaigns. So what happens is the records are there. And I'm told that they simultaneously serve subpoenas on Trump and Cohen's banks. And they simultaneously went down the road of trying to find out what happened. So you remember the foundation. I mean, here's you understand. 2 weeks after Donald Trump's presidency, winning the election, Donald Trump reported in a tax filing that his charitable trust, quote, may have broken federal rules that prohibited charitable organizations from self-dealing. Okay, now, that may not sound like anything very important, but that is not settled business. And so the problem is that the donations went through this entity. And the problem is that they've now got the goods on him. So Donald's got himself a great big shit with all kinds of money running through these charities and the special purpose entities that was set up by who? Cohen. Now the problem is where they were refusing to give those documents under attorney-client privilege, and I can tell you that they evoked that, and also evoked that it was beyond the scope of the investigation, that now that's been broken. And it is now a situation where, oh my God, it's coming apart at the seams. So again, we want to kind of break the story to you and get you prepared for the fact that it looks to us like Donald Trump has got no choice but to get this thing ended and walk away from it and hope he can make it go away, okay? And that is the strategy that we think they're invoking upon. And they have got records of payments by Russian oligarchs on all kinds of little scams, including the speech stuff and all that stuff, the Hillary special, that where did it go through? Well, guess what? Cohen was involved in that. So now you've got a situation where there was collusion with the Russians. There were Russians that made donations to the Trump charity. They were Russians that were tied to Putin. There were documents that went back and forth concerning the econometrics in the whole situation with like who did what and who went where and how these documents happened to end up in the troll farm. So this thing is a big shit. I mean, today you got Zuckerberg basically testifying before Congress, and despite the spin and the Georgia they want to spread, it's all about the troll farm and the money that went into the Trump campaign, came back out of the Trump campaign, the money that went into Cambridge Analyticals, and the documents that were involved in that went to Russia. Now, let me explain a little bit what you need to understand. You cannot move that many documents in that many different directions without having it become discoverable. I'll put it that way, put it kindly, okay? So now you got to deal with the situation is that Donald Trump's total witch hunt may turn into a prosecution and may end his presidency. Now, if this continues going down this battle line, he has got to do something very drastic. So I'm trying to warn you that we've got something very dangerous here. We got a president who is absolutely wounded by this thing. We got a president that's got to kill it, and he's got to kill it now. And when I got wind of this extremely important Latin America trip, okay, that was, by the way, that was going to be, well, they were going to do a memo and understanding on NAFTA to get the heat off of that trade war. And now it looks like that's not going to happen. Now, for Donald Trump to cancel this important trip where they have staged all this PR and how we're going to get the trade war and they gave in to me and aren't I great, to walk away from that, that means something very, very big's afoot. And you understand that, then you understand that we are in absolutely the danger zone with this president. Donald Trump, as I'm pointing out to you, and I'm going to reiterate it again, is a absolutely wounded lion. And, that Russian-Ukrainian oligarch gift to the Trump Foundation is another smoking gun, okay? You just can't walk away from this. In other words, that was money that went into the Trumps. And from there, it made it into the campaign. And that was, by the way, Manafort and Flynn that put these deals together again for the president. So you keep going down to the situation where, the swamp gets deeper and deeper. And, it's kind of hard to blame the FBI and Hillary. Now, remember, typical operation among is deny everything, make countercharges. So that's this tip of the modus operandi, and that's New York style, okay? So he's done that. The problem was he's not able to make it go away. I mean, try as he will, it's still there. It's still growing. It's getting ugly. It's growing a beard. Okay, so now the problem is that how do you mitigate this thing? And Donald Trump knows you can't. It's too big. It's too ugly. There's too much information. And I think that the thing that will be proven to bring down the Trump presidency is this attorney-client privilege information that was gained. Now, by the way, this is not, there are really set procedures of how they go through the information, decide what still can stay under attorney-client privilege and what not. But Donald Trump ain't buying that shit. I mean, he knows that information has a way of, should we say, leaking sideways. So he's got no choice. He has now got himself in a situation where they've got the smoking gun, and they got a whole lot of guns, and they got a whole lot of smoke, and they got a whole lot of people. Okay, so the donation from Punchek, which is the Russian oligarch that was very close to Vladimir Putin during the election, is like game-changing material. This is the Russian-Ukrainian oligarch is an incredible situation that is not going to be easy to make it go away. Do you hear what I'm trying to say to you? You can't get rid of this thing. You can't blow joy gel and fairy dust on it, and that was done by this. Okay, so now he has got a problem of how he handles this thing. And again, I'm telling you, my firm belief is that he's going to have to fire this prosecutor. Now, remember, this is going to create a shitstorm. So remember, this is going to be a market event, okay? And I expect it to hit next week. So now you've got a market event tied to this thing that's going to get out of control. It's going to hit the news cycles. It's going to hit all the media. And now you've got to have it. Now, how do you make it go away? How do you get it quiet? How do you get it stopped? And that is not settled business. In other words, we don't know how far this is going to spin out of control. We don't know how far this goes, okay? But Donald Trump knows. And information I have again is that he is absolutely going a wild man. He is absolutely livid about this thing. And, of course, his staff, the naive ones, should we say, in his staff do not understand why. I mean, relax, everything. We'll get it handled, Mr. President. Can we get a pill? Can we get something done to stop this? And the reality is that Donald Trump has been severely damaged. And remember, it's not just, this started out, to show you how stupid it was, this started out with Stormy. Now there are 3 other women involved. And now there are, I'm told, many donations to many people that, should we say, weren't with clean hands. Now he has an incredible crisis on his hands that's not going to go away. And the situation is that this goes well beyond anything that he can spin on it. Listen, you can go to Fox News and you say, look, how terrible it was. They subpoenaed my attorney, who's a good job. I have attorney-client privilege. They have destroyed the Constitution in their hatred of me. It's obviously fake news. It's obviously the FBI running out of control. It's got to be stopped, okay? Now, the problem is that shit will make a big difference. And I'll tell you what, that factory worker, he's going to be really pissed about this. And I am sure that the Donald Trump base will be really angry and raving about this, okay? The problem is, it doesn't count. The problem is, it means nothing. The problem is that the real story here is that Donald Trump got money from Russian oligarchs during the campaign to help his election for a bogus bullshit speech that's the same crime he accused Hillary Clinton of, and the same charges that, he wanted them to investigate Hillary for. So now the problem is, and Donald Trump can't understand it. You might notice he keeps going back to Hillary, Dillery, Doc. Okay, that's Fox News spin. I don't give a shit about Hillary. Okay, prosecute Hillary. I think you ought to hang her high, draw and quarter her on national TV, make a reality show of it, okay? But that has nothing to do, hear me carefully, that has nothing to do with Donald Trump's problems. So by trying to, obfuscate this whole investigation by blowing blue sky up your ass is nice. It is a great technique, but it doesn't make any difference. See, the prosecutor ain't buying this shit. And you go, okay, well, I'm not in charge of the Hillary investigation, Mr. President. If you want to start one, by all means, go ahead and do it. But it's not in my job description. It's not the investigation I'm under. Do you understand that, friend? We're investigating you. We're investigating what you did. We're investigating what your lawyer did. We're investigating money laundered for buildings. We're investigating money laundered for your campaign through your charity that you already admit wasn't in compliance. So the problem is that all these little monsters they thought they had put to bed, the Donald Trump didn't pay off this porn scar. I did. I was his lawyer, and I'm a friend, and that's what the friends do for friends, okay? Now, the problem is that, it's a Donald Trump stationery, Donald Trump email, Donald Trump account, Donald Trump written all over it. It just doesn't, you just can't sprinkle fairy dust on it and make it go away. And I'm sure that's the conclusion they're going to come to. So the only logical choice they've got is, hell, take a shot at it. What do you have to lose by going ahead and making this a crisis. Donald Trump fires his the prosecutor, he fires his attorney general, he fires the assistant attorney general, he closes down the Mueller investigation, okay? And it's my right to do it. And then you got Fox News pundits going, it was so wrong, and they didn't like Donald, and this was a conspiracy by the FBI to cover up their great crimes with Hillary. So he's got a shot at it. In other words, he's got Fox News that's kind of laid the foundation for this shit. So he can go ahead and try to make it, a witch hunt and prove it because, most people don't understand the attorney-client privilege, don't understand the protections, even when they pierce the veil of the attorney-client privilege to go after a guy. So that guy, you're not going to understand. What the hell? The only lawyer he had was when he was, pretending like he hurt his back in a car wreck so he get paid, that kind of thing. So these are not sophisticated people. So he's got to count on maybe this can bail him out. And if it does, then maybe he can walk away from this thing and just buy himself some time. So the bet is, okay, let's look at it this way. What can really happen? Can he stand? Where is his greater danger? In them raising holy hell because he fired the special prosecutor? Or where does his risk lie, okay? And it's pretty obvious that his risk lies that the special prosecutors have gotten so far, and they got so much dirty information on him, and they've got so much that is so bad that he's got nothing to lose. He absolutely takes himself into an area where he can possibly win by doing it this way. Okay? Pretty smart. It's a pretty smart play. Now, the problem is, and let me explain this, the Democrats are going to raise holy hell. CNN is going to be all over this, okay? You're going to have, the Washington Post and all the other media, especially lefty media, jumping up and down and screaming hell about this. So we are now into a shitstorm of epic proportions. So he's just got to basically stay there and say, look, this is a witch hunt. They went after my attorney. That is wrong. They don't have a right to do that. And it goes to show you how the FBI and the deep state are all against me, and I had no choice to do this, okay? And, the attack on his Justice Department is how he is trying to mitigate this thing. It is not a stupid move. Now, what I need to prepare you for is that the stock market come unglued on this. What you need to be prepared for that this could be a raging battle that could even drag people into the streets. In other words, he is now got to do something dramatic. And knowing Donald Trump's love for the dramatic and the love for the unorthodox and the love to get this thing as a great big shit and mess all over the media, he's got a shot at it. It is really not that stupid of a move, okay, in a man in his position. Now, if he was an innocent man, obviously it doesn't make any sense. If, there wasn't so much information that could really hurt him, he should never do this. But if you've lost the case already on the evidence, well, then, don't worry about that shit. Just go ahead and call it a witch hunt. Because it's a witch hunt, unfair and illegal prosecution, get Dershowitz out there, get Fox News spinning it for him, and hope he can survive it. And that is the play he's making. It is not a stupid play by any stretch of the imagination. The witch hunt plays well. I'm just the attorney. This is my lifelong attorney, and I have attorney-client privilege, and all we're trying to do is drain the swamp and get you people jobs and get you back in a coal mine. And, you love us and we love you, and I need you to support me in this hour of need because I'm fighting for all Americans in the right of attorney-client privilege and the right for people to have a right to defend themselves and all that. Now, what he's not going to tell you is that they may have that right, but they don't have the right to do a crime scheme. They don't have a right to make this, this whole big shit and thing. So it's basically a situation where it's really a smart move. So I want you to be prepared for what I think is going to be a huge crisis in Washington that I think is going to be coming out over the next couple of weeks. I believe that Donald Trump has got to do this. He has no choice. And I believe that it's going to be so devastating and so upsetting that this is going to be a game changer in the market. This is going to form battle lines that I don't know how. See, I don't even know how far this is going to go. In other words, there are people who are plenty passionate about this thing. So Donald Trump is going to do, I believe, over the weekend and try to cover it under Syria. So I could see the missiles flying in Syria and CNN breaking news, drone attack shot down, Moscow threatens to retaliate, and all this shit, and gas bombs going up and airports being blasted away and ammo dumps, in a moment of hell fury, which would play to his base. And then quietly he just fires everybody, ends the investigation under the fact that it was a witch hunt and it was illegal, and they went after my attorney and me, and it was wrong, and obviously it's a deep state thing. So that becomes a divisive issue. He's going to probably do some rallies and bring his core group onto the streets and then have a real shitstorm. And the thing that's smart about this is that it's far enough away from the election that he can kind of sprinkle fairy dust on it. So he's got to go now. See, he can't do this in August or September. It's too close to the election. So, again, I want to tell you that I think there's, by the chatter I'm seeing, by the spin going on Fox News, by the press releases, the games, and so we monitor the social media, I think he's planning to do this. So let me give you a heads up. By the way, if this happens over the weekend, we will do an emergency issue of Radio Free Wall Street. We'll send you out a tweet, and we'll send you out an email to let you know what we posted and give you the inside skinny on it. My pleasure. Yeah, it's a great time to be together, right? Really, there's going to be some great shit. By the way, there is a fortune to be made in this thing. I mean, now the downside is that you hate to see the country go through this, but I didn't do it, and you didn't do it either. But I am sure as shit going to cash in on it if I can.